Hello, John Withers here. I want to take a moment and just think about my goals for 2026. This is a video really for me, but I'm going to post it online so I have a little bit of accountability. If you happen to be watching it, then thank you for watching it. I'm really just kind of talking to myself, sitting here in my home office and thinking about what I want to accomplish this year. So, I am a bugling merit badge counselor for Scouting America, or Boy Scouts of America. And I've had the opportunity to work with individual scouts, and some troops have brought me in for a couple of weeks to talk about bugling. Knowing that I was going to work with bugling and the bugling merit badge, I picked up a couple of instruments to kind of help me along that journey. One of them is this really neat, old, banged up bugle that still works. Until just recently, I had a mouthpiece jammed semi-permanently into the end of it, and it does what a bugle should do. What I like about this one is that it is a Rexcraft official Scout bugle. And I picked this up off of eBay fairly cheaply because it's in fairly rough shape. You can tell it has seen some Scouts banging this around on camping trips. But honestly, that's what this horn should look like. I'm never going to have this horn professionally redone. I'm never going to wind up perfecting that bell back into the original shape because my goal with this horn was always to be able to hand it to scouts. And like this, it is playable, and I can hand it to scouts. And I have. I've taken this on several occasions to scout groups and just handed it to scouts. And then Chlor wipes it out and hand it to the next scout, right? Let them just try the bugle. Sometimes a scout comes in asking about the bugling merit badge, never having any experience with a bugle. I hand them this. And it works as a bugle still, so that's all it needs to do. I do also have a cheap $25 Amazon special. This has a mouthpiece that's a very funny size, but it fits itself well, which is fine. This is a cheap Indian-made horn, but again, for a basic bugle, this is all a scout really needs. When scouts do not have bugles and their parents ask them if they need a bugling merit badge, I send them to Amazon to pick up one of these because every note that a bugle needs is inside this horn and unlockable by a player. Not the easiest mouthpiece to start on, perhaps, but overall, a scout can grab a $25 horn like this and be completely fine to get through the bugling merit badge. The bugling merit badge can be completed on a bugle, which makes sense. It can also be completed on a trumpet or a cornet. So when a scout wants to be a little bit nicer than this, I often suggest they go to a pawn shop. They or their family go to a pawn shop because trumpets are in every pawn shop in America fairly cheaply. And a used trumpet that has moving pieces to it is good enough to take and do the scouting bugling on, right? And if you're going to wind up banging it up, carrying it up a mountain, or taking it to summer camp to play for your troop, you do not want to have your brand new school horn that your parents are making payments on strapped to the back of your backpack, right? You want as cheap a horn as possible. $25 bugle, nice. $50, $75 trumpet that you found at a pawn shop, great. I did in my own collecting want to have a few bugles on hand when I got to work with scouts in case they didn't have their own $30 bugle yet or hadn't been to a pawn shop yet or didn't have a school horn yet. For playing at meetings and kind of learn on, the school horns can be fine if the scout's already playing that. And often they already are playing trumpet or cornet in their school bands or some sort of brass instrument that can pick up the trumpet bugling fairly easily. I grabbed a couple off eBay, some older bugles. When I'm talking with scouts about bugling, one of the things they have to do is play the bugle. Another thing they need to do is learn about the history of the bugle. And in talking about the history of the bugle, I like to be able to show off a bugle like this. This is a one valve bugle, and so it is your standard looped brass instrument, but it does have a single valve on it tucked in here. I'm having trouble getting it into the camera view there. It's got that single valve. This is a eBay special. I honestly cannot read in the discoloration what brand this is anymore, But this is the type of horn that would have been used in the early days of Drum Corps International, DCI, when they moved from absolute bugles. Before they moved completely to trumpets, they were using a one-valve bugle or one-valve trumpet because that gave them more options in their arrangements and let them do more things. These were marched for a very long time in drum corps. These were played in various kinds of marching bands at one point in history. These have their spot historically. They're not used very often anymore. They're also not that expensive anymore because people don't really have a purpose for them except to show them off and it's kind of trivial tidbits. This particular horn has a valve that does eventually come back up, but not in a way that we need. So I need to work on that valve a little bit, probably just cleaning it, maybe a little tighter spring. Oh, look, it finally came up without me pulling it up. Nice. The spit valves on this horn have a very antique cork on there. That needs to be replaced. One of the springs feels like it needs to be a little bit tighter. I'm pretty sure I can do that myself too. The real challenge of this horn is going to be the slides. I think this one should be a tuning slide. Looking at the gap on there, I think that's a tuning slide, but it isn't because I can hold the horn up by it. The other side, which is definitely a tuning slide, is missing a leg. I'm not using the proper brass terminology, but this is what we've called this tuning slide leg, what we called it in high school, so that's kind of what I still call it. Right? And the rest of that leg's down in there. I need to be able to pull that out, resolder that together. That's a skill that I know I have from other pneumatic, electrical, and manufacturing work I've done in the past. I think I can get this horn going again. And honestly, in 2026, I'd like to get this horn back going again. It had had a mouthpiece absolutely permanently jammed in there. I finally got that out with a little bit of finesse and the right mouthpiece puller. I finally was able to work on that. So this is technically better than I found it, which is a nice step. In high school, I always tinkered around with instruments and tried to keep them repaired and in good shape when I was playing more often. One of the other horns I picked up was another one valve horn, again, a very drum corps kind of thing. This one was made in Chicago, Illinois, or the company was in Chicago, Illinois. I can't actually read the name because of all the pitting, and I don't care about the pitting at all. When I ordered this one in, the valve was a little bit better than the last one. It's again a parts horn that was non-functioning, largely because there's no spit valve or water drain valve here, so air just goes straight out of it. It makes a sound, but not a good sound. But it's a good example horn, even in this condition. That stopped. It was working. There it goes. But again, slides are sliding technically, and together, I think I can clean that up. That valve, I think I can get a much better spring in and get that moving again. And I definitely can source some sort of trumpet spit valve here. I've got the other one I think they're going to match. Probably going to move that back and forth, make sure they match, and then find something that matches that and recorking it, which I can do. Once I have the spit valve itself, I can do that. Right? So I'd like to get this going in 2026 as well. Primarily, again, because I'm teaching the scouting merit badge of the bugling, and I'd like to do that. Right? In high school, I played quite a bit. I was in bands, jazz bands, marching bands. That was a big part of my identity in school was that band kid kind of identity, right? Even when I went into college, I still played a little bit. I never played in the college band. I went from community college to a small Catholic college, and it had a band program that was kind of floundering as a part-time program. I never had time to do it. I was working. I was taking extra classes. I never had any time to play in band at Belmont Abbey, which is a shame. I really wanted to. The band at Gaston College had ended right before I got there. They had a small combo that played, but not while I was a student there. And then Belmont Abbey was trying to rebuild a little band program for some pet band music, which sounded fun, but I never was able to get that to work. By the time I made it to Gardner Webb, I was already taking master's classes at night and working full time during the day, and I just couldn't get back into any kind of band program there either. And I've been to some great schools. I have great bands that I didn't get to take part in. It's a shame. And I don't really play much anymore, right? I've got a room full of dusty instruments in there that my teenage self would hate because I never thought an instrument should get dusty. You should play it enough that it is keeping the dust off of it at minimum. Otherwise, you should get rid of it. And I hoarded instruments, so I never want to get rid of them. I just thought they should never be dusty. Keep playing, which is easy when you're young. And life gets in the way a little bit, right? In high school, I never played baritone as a main instrument. This is kind of like my third instrument, but I have one. This is a Elkhart student euphonium. Was never good enough or snobby enough to really differentiate between euphoniums and baritones, so I often call this a baritone, despite the fact that if we look at its tubing, I know it's probably euphonium, but it's good enough for me. This is a horn I've had on my shelf for years. I've played this with community bands, brass bands, Christmas caroling on low brass instruments at church. Yeah, I've played this over the years. I've often been able to pick it up, play it, tune up a little bit, and practice music, get ready for a concert, and play something fairly quickly. It's been a fairly dependable horn. The past few years, all I've really done with this is take it to Bugling Merit Badge classes. Because when I'm talking to scouts about the history of the bugle, I also like to point out how the bugle fits into the larger instrument family of low brass and brass in general, right? And then, of course, low brass is what I was. I will often take one of my daughter's trumpets or cornets with me so we can look at the bugle versus the trumpet. Scouts can, of course, use a trumpet or a cornet to finish the Bugling Merit Badge. Most of them do. More successful scouts wind up using that because they have access to it. They can do it. I'm still rooting for that $30 bugle to be the way of the future. But at least one of the nights of a Bugling Merit Badge, or one of the little bit of time working on the Bugling Merit Badge, I like to expose scouts to other brass instruments. And so I take my baritone in, my euphonium in, and let them try it out. I often have a couple of mouthpieces for this. I'll have the one in my pocket that I use, and then one or two more that I can let different scouts use, but not slobber in the mouthpiece, passing it back and forth. Try to keep the germs down. Let them at least try a baritone euphonium, something of that size mouthpiece, like the trombone mouthpiece, which is about a medium-sized mouthpiece. If we're going to talk about trumpet and cornets and bugles having a small mouthpiece in the brass family, then your trombones, your euphoniums, your tuba, your baritone, have that medium-sized mouthpiece. And so for the past few years, all I've really been doing with this is taking off and letting kids honk on it a little bit, playing the bugling tunes through the baritone so they can kind of hear how they go. And I'm not giving a lot of love, not had a lot of attention to that horn, and it suited me fine, right? The other horn I like to take in, as I lean over here, is the tuba. Because if you're going to demonstrate how the brass instruments fit together, the bugle, trumpet, cornet, baritone, the tuba, seem to kind of tell a story about the brass family. I think that's important when a scout is working on the Bugling Merit Badge. They understand a little bit about how the brass family works. And so this tuba, which is probably the best shape of all of them, is a lovely instrument. And the past few years, all I've really done with it is put it in the laugh systems to scouts and let them honk on it too. Just so they understand. A lot of the scouts that I work with on the Bugling Merit Badge do actually play the trumpet in their high school bands, middle school or high school bands, which is great. Some of them have never played an instrument before, which is amazing as well. So many of those students haven't had the time to just experience playing brass instruments. And while I cannot get them completely musician ready on 3 different brass instruments in a couple of workshops, at least I have an experience of kind of how they feel, how they move, what a bigger mouthpiece feels like versus a smaller mouthpiece. And amateurs and discussing tonguing and some other kind of technique pieces, it's sometimes easy to kind of figure it out once you've felt it shift for different size mouthpieces sometimes, which is handy, right? And so when I'm talking about the history and the purpose and care of an instrument, I like to bring in several instruments to play on as often as possible. I like to have my daughter with me. She's a scout. She plays trumpet and cornet. Got her pocket trumpet for Christmas this year. And so she can play that instrument better than I can. Take her in and let her do some demonstrations. Let me do some demonstrations on the lower brass. I don't usually take the trombone with me. There's one in the back office. I don't usually take it with me. I like to keep it a little bit more in a valved and non-valved example set. I don't know. I have played at churches. I've played in community bands. I've played after high school some. Last few years, most of my identity has been put into being a scout leader and not a musician. My daughter is a scout. She's currently in 8th grade, 13 years old. I know at her point in life, she feels like she's going to be in scouts forever, and she's completely into it. She is super excited, and that's great. But I know that that moment between 8th grade and 18 goes fairly quickly, and it's going to fly by. And so, because she's into scouting, my wife's also a scout leader. We put a lot of our family time into scouting right now. And the most time that I get to spend with an instrument is talking about the Bugling Merit Badge and bringing out some instruments. I am not a music merit badge counselor. My wife is, but I'm not. Oh well. 2025, I'd really like to get playing again. I'd like to perform again. I don't really know what yet. Maybe go back to doing some Christmas carols on the kind of caroling with brass instruments is a lot of fun. I've done that in the past, but it's been a few years. I like the idea of Christmas carols as a goal because it's January right now, and that gives me a full year because we know we don't need those till December. That's nice. Also, might like to play for the Scout Sunday. Historically, Scout Sunday celebrated in January. Our troop celebrates it in February. It's just one of the things our troop's always done, which is lovely. My daughter played Amazing Grace on her trumpet last year as part of Scout Sunday, which was nice. I'd like to play a duet with her this year. Me in my uniform, her in uniform. I think that would be really nice of a scouter duet. Me on a baritone, her on trumpet. That'd be pretty easy to put together if I was still playing baritone fairly regularly. She's a better trumpet player than I am a baritone player right now because she's practicing and I'm not, and that's fine. So I wanted to pull this instrument back out and get it back going. And by get it back going, what I really meant was get me back going. I understand how to play the baritone, but when I look at sheet music, it's all fuzzy now. All the pieces that I used to do in my own mind is a little bit fuzzy, right? So as a baritone player, I used to be able to sight read some simple music in bass clef and treble clef because baritones and euphoniums can go either way. I played piano and guitar and bass, and so I read both. I played clarinet, so I read both staves. I understood how I fit into bands. I knew how to transpose a little bit when I was younger. My old man brain seems to not be doing that very well right now. So I thought, you know what, the baritone's probably the most functional, most portable, the one I really want to learn to perform on during this year. Maybe Christmas caroling, maybe something for Scout Sunday in February. That seemed doable until I picked the horn up. I've been taking this out, and I've taken this to several different scout troops, and we honked on it a little bit here and there. I've played bugle calls on it. All seemed well and good. Today, I thought, well, I'm going to get this out. I'm going to really start practicing. I'm going to start getting back my chops again. And so when I did that, I thought, well, I'll do the right thing. I'll actually use the slide paste. I'll use the valve oil. I wound up buying fresh slide paste. It's a long story. I had valve oil around here. And I went to get this horn out, that I'll clean it up a little bit. Its reactions are a little bit off, and its pistons, valves, I can clean them up, they'll be fine. I'll oil them up good, clean them up good, oil them up good, it'll be fine. I went to do the slide oil, because that seemed like the space to start. And I realized that I can take any tuning valve on this horn, and I can hold it by that tuning valve, because none of them are moving at all. Oops. That's not great. So my new goal is to get this horn back playing again and get me back playing again on this horn, or some baritone. It might be more than one in my life. But I've been watching YouTube videos. When I was younger, a group of us would fix horns when they broke. I learned a lot of the skills of electric, pneumatic, tool repair. Doesn't sound like it give you instrument repair skills, but I learned a few things that transferred over on how things work, how things break, and how we fix things. Seem to be universal. Scout is thrifty. I think I'd like to fix this horn myself. I know that I could take this tomorrow to the local music center and drop it off and have them redo it for me. get the slides moving, get those piston valves moving again, like butter and like new. I could pay someone to do that, and they do it fairly quickly right now because this is a good time of year to drop horn off before all the students drop them off at the end of the school year to get fixed over the summer or band camp, right? I'm not concerned about the dents in the main body of it. This is dented across that bottom where people drop them off their laps. That's a pretty common student instrument thing to do. And this bell is an absolute mess because people have just jammed it, sitting it down and knocking it over in band rooms in its lifetime. This is not a horn I played in school. This is something I picked up after school, probably at a pawn shop, maybe in an antique store. I really don't know where she came from after all this time. I've kind of forgotten the history of this horn, how I got it. It was not my high school horn, but it's definitely a typical high school horn. It has all that high school horn damage. I don't care about that. I care about making the valves move and the slides move and making it absolutely functional. The lead pipe is in nice, true condition. It's where it's supposed to be. The receiver's nice on it. It is not banged up and dented all up. So it's usable if I can get it moving again. So my goal for 2025 is to get this one going again. I'd like to do it myself. Scout is thrifty. Scout wants to learn some new things. Remind myself of some pieces that younger me knew, and I'd like to get it cleaned up, oiled up, get it playing again, and get me playing again in the process. My goal is to fix the horn, fix me, and get me playing. I want to play in public. I want to do something either with the Scouts or the church. I want to do maybe a community organization piece. I don't have time for community band right now in my life because I'm giving so much time to Scouts and my daughter and my wife and the family kind of moving in the same direction. I don't have time to go practice a baritone one night a week to play a couple concerts. I do happen to have a daughter in scouting that's a drum player, and we know a lot of kids in the scout troop or in the OA that also play. So maybe a Scout Sunday would be good if I can get this back going and me back going by February. That might be nice. Luckily, our Scout troop does celebrate Scout Sunday after the official Scout Sunday. So most people celebrate that in January. We celebrate that in February, which means I could pull together some friends of my daughter's that also play horns. We could put together a piece or two and play at our Scout Sunday at our church that hosts as our charter organization, but not pull them away from their Scout Sundays, take away from what they're doing, which is great. Also give me another month. I can't be ready by Scout Sunday in January. Sorry, January 5th, people. I'm not ready yet. I could do it on the tuba. I thought about that, but I really think the baritone is what I'm feeling right now. So looking her over, main dents don't bother me. I do need to go buy another cork for that spit valve there, but I also need to get these slides moving, and I need to get these valves firing back a little bit faster than they are. She used to have a better reaction time than she does now, and I think we can get her back there again, and get me back there again too. And again, I'm just posting this video to keep me accountable. I'm gonna post it online, just because I think that'll help my accountability. I've never done that, but it seems like a good idea. Let me give it a try. I'd like to come back to this in 2026, make another video and tell you that I played this concert or that concert. Maybe give you a clip of me playing the horn again. We'll see. Best laid plans and all that. I'm going to spend a little time on this euphonium baritone today. I play the tuba a little bit today too. It's always fun. I love the tuba. I may even take time on another video and show you what I've got getting dusty on the back shelves. Explain to you a little bit about my past with instruments and music. Might help you get to know me a little better if you're watching and you care about getting to know me a little better. But really, this video is just here for my goal for the year. My goal for the year is to make that baritone play better and then make me play the baritone again. I'm very happy that in 2025, 2026, whatever year it is now, in 2026, there's so many YouTube videos that go into how to repair horns that give me the confidence that I've got some skills, I've got some tools, I've got a few tools I'm working on for this slide wind up needing to get that leg out of there, and I've got a nose picker I'm working on to pull that out. But I know how to do the soldering. Once that's out, if I can get it back moving again, I can solder that back together and make this horn a little bit more functional than it is. I can do pads. I can find a better spring and help match that up with the help of my local music store, rather than just having them do the work. I think they'll help me figure out pads and springs and spacer corks, those kind of things. I need to work on my daughter's cornet. She's got a cork pad under its valve top that takes the clank out of it, and one of them's missing because it's just deteriorated over the years. I need to have that replaced. She's switching to the pocket trumpet for a little bit in school, so we can take and do that. Either match it up, and I can repair it, or maybe send that one off. But this baritone, I definitely want to be able to put together myself, if at all possible. That is my priority, is to get it back playing again, get me back playing again. I think those two things really go well together. There's something that feels right about that. Hopefully playing with scouts, other scouts, my daughter, something for the community, something for the church. Don't know yet. I'll find somewhere. If I can get playing again, I can find somewhere to play again. It's a matter of getting me back in shape and getting the horn back in shape that really become my priorities for that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far in the video, I don't know why you would like, I don't know why you would subscribe, but if you do, great. This was just for me. But until I talk to you next time, have a good day.